In 2017, the alt-right organized the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. During the rally, a counter-protester named Heather Heyer was killed by a white nationalist. The alt-right found themselves reeling from the backlash. This, coupled with internal disagreements on their strategies, found the alt-right losing their momentum. In attendance at the Unite the Right rally was then 18-year-old Nick Fuentes. He was energized by the different factions of the right that came together that day under a single banner. In 2019, in an episode of his webcast America First, Fuentes outlined the movement's task at hand. He wanted to break away from the alt-right and form a new periphery, which would eventually become mainstream. His vision was to change the look and aesthetic of this new movement, blending in to create a new category of white nationalists. Thus, the America First movement was born. The America First movement, or Groypers as they call themselves, is made up primarily of white Generation Z men. The spirit of the Groyper movement is a white nationalist boys' club, channeling virulent misogyny, racism, anti-Semitism, and homophobia into an edgy meme warfare. They use appeals to American patriotism, support for Donald Trump, and Christian nationalist rhetoric to further their core white nationalist goal of ending non-white immigration and preserving a white demographic supermajority in the United States. Fuentes cultivated a cadre of Groypers as a largely decentralized network, a group of mostly anonymous online racist trolls and disaffected campus conservatives who clustered around Fuentes and his America First show. As they grew bigger, the Groypers launched their first America First chapter in 2020 at Kansas State University and planned to host events before the COVID-19 pandemic hit. During the pandemic, the Groypers have doubled down their online organizing on platforms like TikTok, where they were quickly banned, and continued to grow their reach in Gen Z conservative spaces. In the aftermath of the 2020 election, Trump supporters organized Stop the Steal rallies across the country, calling the results fraudulent. The rallies created an opportunity for the Groypers to become frontline players, sustaining media interest while Nick Fuentes spoke to large crowds at these rallies. But while most speakers at the Stop the Steal rallies focused their attention on the Democrats, Fuentes aimed his disapproval at the conservatives who had let down King Trump. At this time, Fuentes and the Groypers called on conservatives to destroy the GOP and replace it with a movement which is truly America First. On January 6th, 2021, Fuentes stood outside the Capitol building, addressing a crowd of thousands. Rioters stormed the Capitol, and a blue America First flag was among the many carried into the building that day. One Groyper sat in Vice President Mike Pence's chair in the Senate chamber. In the aftermath of January 6th, the Groypers wholeheartedly embraced the strategy to intervene in mainstream politics, but they needed support from more prominent voices within the conservative establishment. Soon, they found the sponsor they needed. Representative Paul Gosar embraced the Groypers, first by speaking at one of their conferences, and then continuing to promote the group and its leaders on social media, refusing to disavow them when he was challenged. With Gosar's support, Fuentes continued to move the Groyper brand under the larger conservative tent. Fuentes edged the Groypers into popular causes like censorship from big tech and opposition to COVID-19 safety measures, while also deepening his connections with popular right-wing figures like Alex Jones. Aligning oneself with a white nationalist once received pushback from the GOP, but now it barely garners a reaction from the mainstream conservatives. Fuentes has used his momentum to try to create a foothold for the Groypers and their ideology within the larger conservative movement. And so far, conservatives are meeting them halfway. Conservative leaders like Tucker Carlson, Matt Gaetz, and Charlie Kirk are increasingly using white nationalist messaging in their opposition to immigration and other issues. As the 2022 midterms approach, several electoral campaigns have already been launched with explicit alignment with the Groyper movement. Whether or not Fuentes and his followers are able to deepen their inroads into the Big Tent GOP coalition, the ideas they carry with them have already arrived. To learn more about Nick Fuentes and the Groypers, visit politicalresearch.org.